Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
Welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. But for a radio audience tuning in at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com, we're glad you all can be with us. Also, is joining us through iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Broadcast. We're glad you all could be with us as well. A lot of stories have been in the news lately, but of course, one of the big ones that people have been paying attention to is that having to do with the Gilgo Beach murders. Of course, that's because of a suspect now being in custody, being accused of the murders. There is a new special that's coming to Fox this Sunday, though, that explores were there missed warning signs, and that's kind of brought to us by TMZ Investigates. It's called Gilgo Beach Serial Murders, Missed Warning Signs. Here to talk to us about it, we're excited to welcome Harvey Levin to our broadcast. You all know him as the founder and executive producer of TMZ. I want to talk to him not only about the special, but also what it's been like for them to do this investigation and what they hope you take away from it. Harvey, thank you again for the time. Really do appreciate it.
My pleasure, Cyrus.
So, Harvey, this is a topic that has been a front of mind for a lot of people, even though there are a lot of stories that are going on right now. What do you think it is about these murders that really does fascinate people?
Well, I think it's way more than the murders. I mean, we've seen serial killers in the past, ticking them off. Jeffrey Dahmer, Golden Gate Killer, Zodiac Killer, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer. So there have been a lot of serial killers. What is different about this case is that there was unbelievable, shocking corruption, missed clues, bungling by authorities, not just for a short period of time, but for 13 years. They bungled this investigation, and it was done by the police chief himself, the guy at the time, and he had a reason for doing it. He derailed this investigation because most of the people found on Gilgo Beach, of the 11 bodies, 7 were sex workers. He was frequenting prostitutes, and he did not want a spotlight put on him where bodies of sex workers were found in his jurisdiction. So the things he did were just unbelievable. I don't have a word to describe it, but when, there was evidence in 2010 that would have led police right to Rex Heuermann's doorstep, literally to his doorstep, and it was ignored for 13 years. And everybody we spoke to said they have no idea how many women were murdered in those 13 years who might be alive today if the police had done their job.
However, this brings us to why why people are looking forward to this special with TMZ on Fox this Sunday, because TMZ has kind of been at the front for a lot of the biggest stories out there. I mean, that's where we even have people in the media, of course, are looking to TMZ for the answers. Was this something for you that you knew needed to be done and needed to be explored because of what you just said, because of the information that was out there about how it had been mismanaged?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you on this one. No. We found the case itself fascinating because this guy led such a double life. He was an architect, a family man, a father, and somehow he could compartmentalize his life the way he did and run around in plain sight doing this allegedly. So that's what initially got us interested. But as we probed, a bigger story emerged. And, people have talked about this, but we've interviewed people for this documentary that, it is just, I'll give you one example. I mean, it's so shocking. In 2010, there's a guy named Dave Schaller who was roommates with this woman who was one of the victims on Gilgo Beach. Her name was Amber Costello. She was a sex worker. A guy who, it turns out, was Rex Heuermann, came to the house. And she was supposed to give him a lap dance. She called Dave Schaller, her roommate, and said, "Get over to the house right now. He's trying to rape me." And he ran over to the house, and he walks in, and there was a 6'5" guy there. And this guy looks like Frankenstein, according to him. Looks like Frankenstein. And is emotionless. And Dave Schaller says, "Get out of this house." And he said, "No." They get in a fist fight. The guy flees in a green Chevy Avalanche. A month later, Amber disappears and her body is found. He calls the police and says, "I can tell you who did this." He was driving a Chevy Avalanche. He gives him, he's 6'5". The way he put it to us is he gave him a description of this guy right down to his beady-ass eyes. And all the police had to do, there weren't that many Chevy Avalanches in Long Island, and all the police had to do was run the plates, or rather just look how many people own a Chevy Avalanche there. They could have then looked at driver's license of the owner, and they would have found a guy who was 6'5", who matched the description. And had they driven to his house, they would have seen the Avalanche in his driveway that matched everything. And it's been there for 13 years, and they didn't do it. I'll just give you one more.
Sure.
The police chief, one of the detectives wanted to send cadaver dogs to Gilgo Beach. And the police chief said, "No." He said, "These dogs don't like working during the winter. Let's do it in the summer." And the detective was incredulous and said to the chief, "What are these, lifeguards, where they only work in the summer?" And what happened was, in the 4 months they waited, bodies decomposed, evidence was lost, and there you go. And this is what happened. It's just outrageous. And everybody says more people were murdered as a result.
And that's why, again, this is so important. Last thing I want to ask you about, Harvey, because, as I mentioned, TMZ has become a go-to place, but a go-to place in so many different areas. We also, of course, go there for entertainment, as well as, of course, the type of investigative, reporting like what you're doing with this particular show here. What has that been like for you to see how it really has become a place that has something for everyone?
Yeah, I mean, look, there was a guy who co-founded this with us, named Jim Paratori, and his mantra was, "You grow or you die." And I've always thought of that. Sadly, Jim died, but I've never forgotten that mantra, and it's true. And look, I mean, we started kind of narrowly, and then we broadened out to sports, and we broadened out to hip-hop, and, we've started doing these documentaries. So, look, we're a pop culture website, and we do politics, we do everything that, within our universe, but, it is a pop culture brand. And I appreciate you saying that, too.
Well, it is definitely true. And so we definitely invite our audience to make sure you're tuned in to Fox this Sunday, again, for TMZ Investigates Gilgo Beach Serial Murders, Missed Warning Signs. That's at 9 p.m. Eastern, of course, 8 p.m. Central for our audience here. Harvey, thank you again for the time. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to speaking with you again.
I appreciate you having me on.
Glad to do it. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Now let's go make today amazing. Take care.